So, the story of how I got this game that I want to review for this video is actually pretty interesting. Recently, I just finished all the video games that I had on my PS5. Right now, I'm working on Echoes of Wisdom, Legend of Zelda. But, honestly, right now, I'm kind of burnt out on that game. I wanted to go back to PS5. So, I went to my local game store to look in the PlayStation section, and I found Resident Evil 2 Deluxe Edition, and I couldn't avoid buying it. Not only was it like 20 bucks, which was an amazing deal, but just the cover of it is so cool. I mean, it's Leon in his cop uniform, gun in hand, with the destruction of Raccoon City behind him. So cool. So, of course I ended up buying it. I got home, only to realize after opening it that it wasn't Resident Evil 2 that was the disc, but Resident Evil Revelations. But honestly, I decided I spent 20 bucks on it, I might as well check it out, and I actually really freaking love this game. It is so cool. Let's get into the right story of what happens and how I enjoy the gameplay of Resident Evil 2 Revelations, because it's a journey. Resident Evil Revelations 2 has the fairly similar same opening to what Resident Evil 3 had. How it's like a commercial type thing about, you know, how Resident 3 has like the effects that the T-Virus has thanks to Umbrella. Well, with this, it has a thing which is like about TerraSave. It's like, if you can't trust all these people, like, if you can't trust government officials, you know, they're taking bribes behind your backs, if they're doing all these things, illegal things, you can't trust them. It's a commercial for a thing called TerraSave, and it shows like, it's kind of like a Doctors Without Borders things. It shows these people, working for TerraSave, helping people through that went through Raccoon City that are dealing with the T-Virus, trying to rebuild civilization. And the gameplay opens up, well, the cutscene continues to Claire Redfield. She's having this TerraSave party for the success that's going on. And she meets the second main character, Moira, and they're just at this party, and like the lights go out and everyone's like, hey, what's going on here? And then the helicopter appears, we have all these soldiers appear, and they're like, Claire Redfield, you're coming with us! And then the screen goes black, and you're like, okay, this is pretty cool, I'm digging it, so far it's good. So, Claire wakes up in this underground, like, it's kind of like it looks like an underground railroad, but it's also like a prison cell, kind of, like, prison railroad thing. And as she's going through it, she runs into Moira again, the two are talking, and what's really creepy is that they are being watched, every move they make, they're being watched on camera by this unseen person, but she can like talk to them through these little bracelets they're wearing. Anyway, it's creepy because as they're going through it, like, there's rooms that Claire and Moira will investigate where there's like these bloody tables, kind of like it has these like bondages that have been broken free on them. It's pretty creepy. Also, it does not fail to give you jump scares in this. Like, there's this one part where Claire, she's like making a path forward. She's like pushing this bookshelf forward, and as she's pushing the shelf forward, the zombie, well, they're not really like zombies, they're just like, the creatures in this game are completely different from what I'm used to, like, in Resident Evil. They're like just these mutated people, basically. But he jumps up and attacks Claire, and that really gave me a jump scare, which was awesome. Something I love about the story of Revelations 2 and the gameplay of it is that this seems to do something that no other Resident Evil I play has done before. Like, yeah, Resident Evil 4, you can do things like you can switch, I think, between Ashley and Leon. There's a part, yeah, where you play as Ashley. But with this, with Claire and Moira, you can switch between them to do different things. And I love the way that they use the combat in this. Like, Claire's the one with the gun that's shooting up the creatures, and Moira, she only uses like a flashlight and a crowbar, but it's awesome when they tag team to take down some enemies, because Moira can shine the flashlight on faces of these creatures. It'll temporarily like stun them, and Claire will do this roundhouse kick, will knock him down, and Moira can stab him with the crowbar. Just the combat and the way that you can use co-op in this game is something that was totally different, but it totally works for Revelations 2. I thought it was really fun that we had the ability to switch between characters, like the freedom we had to play between either Moira or Claire anytime we want. That was awesome. Something really cool about Revelations 2 that they added was that they seem to make the camera part of the whole experience. Like, there's a thing like bleeding. Bleeding is actually a part of this game, which I thought was super cool. Like, if you get hit, it does hurt you, but none of the Resident Evil games I played before have bleeding as a thing, because bleeding will like splatter the camera with blood, so it's like breaking the fourth wall, and it's actually bringing you into the gameplay of Revelations 2. It's like, you're actually bleeding as you're seeing this fighting going on. It's pretty cool that how interactive Capcom made Revelations 2 with the combat in this game. I loved it. It was really cool. So when Claire and Moira are able to escape this underground prison place with the mutated human zombie-like creatures, we're able to actually get to the outdoors, which personally, every time I got to play it in the outdoors in this game, I was just immersed in it. Not only is it so cool to be able to play as Claire or Moira, and to be able to like go through the mountains and go through the bushes collecting items, things like that, it just surprised me in such a good way that I was able to play a Resident Evil in the wilderness. Like, I know there are Resident Evils where you get to play outdoors, but for the most part, the ones that I've played, they're outdoors for like maybe 10 minutes at the most, and then the rest of the time is just inside. But every time just going to the mountains, I was just so happy, because it made me feel like this was a Resident Evil that is trying to expand out into the open world, and that was a big selling point of me for this game, because it was just fun to explore the wilderness in a Resident Evil game. So when Claire and Moira are out exploring the wilderness, they come across this network tower, communications tower. They go inside, and Moira's trying to send a message out, and Claire, she decides to climb the tower to see if they can see where they are, and like, Moira's still giving her message, and Claire gets to the top of the tower. She's standing on this platform, and she's just like, oh god. And we get this overhead view, and they're just on this island, and that's how the cutscene ends. What I love about this game is that it feels like a TV show. This was another thing I wasn't expecting from this game, but it plays in episodes. Like, we have a narration from Claire that'll go like, previously on Revelations 2, or next time on Revelations 2, and we get this whole cutscene of what the gameplay for the next episode is going to be about, and That was brilliant on Capcom. Not only does playing in the wilderness suck you in this Resident Evil game, but seeing what the gameplay is going to be like for the next episode in this game, that's going to keep the player coming back and back until they finish playing the game. So, a genius on Capcom, and just brilliant gameplay for it so far. So Claire and Moira aren't the only two characters playable in this game. Like, this game has two stories of four main characters, if that makes sense. Like, one story is with Claire and Moira, what they're going through on the island, and the other story is with two characters. The first one, his name is Barry Burton. He's Moira's father, as we find out. And also a little girl named Natalia. And the story is set in two timelines. Like, Claire and Moira's timeline come from like 6 months before Barry and Natalia's timeline starts. And it's actually a really cool, just like the difference in the timeline. And you can totally tell that Capcom took time into considering that time was an actual thing in this game. Because with Claire and Moira, they're fighting these human-looking zombie creatures. And then you got Natalia and Barry, who they're on the island too, like 6 months later, when this is 6 months apart. And just like the creatures they fight, they're all rotten. Not looking like zombies like the other Resident Evil games, but they literally look like rotting skeletons. It's really cool. Like, just the story and timeline to go through is really cool. Barry has the goal of trying to find Moira, and just playing as Barry, working with Natalia in this, honestly was really cool. With them playing out in the wilderness. Honestly, I've never played The Last of Us, but I kind of feel like this was turning into The Last of Us game, with like fighting the undead, traveling with a little girl, an older man protecting her, and going on a journey trying to find other people. Really cool. Playing the Barry story in Revelations 2 really does make this feel like a Resident Evil game, because just like everything's been torn down. Like with Claire and Moira, it just feels like a game where they're trying to hunt down this person that's kidnapped them while they're fighting the undead, which really is the thing of Resident Evil. But with this, with Barry's story, it's just like survival in the wilderness. I mean, there's parts where you're traveling through the wilderness at night, like Barry's got his flashlight to see where he's going. He's running through the trees and bushes, and if he's not careful, like, there's zombies that can ambush him if he's going through like this little destroyed town or whatever. If he goes, he can like go through these doors, and out of nowhere the zombies will grab him. And he'll just like struggle, he'll punch them, he'll slice them, he'll do whatever he can to get out of their grip. But there's this one part that gave me total horror video game / movie vibes. Like, Natalia and Barry are in this cabin, and Barry's about to open the door for the two to leave, and Natalia's like, "Barry, what is that?" And you switch to Natalia, and she'll point to what she's looking at, and there's like this pool of blood on the floor. And when Barry moves the flashlight up to see where it's coming from, there's like a hole in the ceiling. Then zombie monster crashes through the ceiling that Barry shoots and fights. It feels like a horror / thriller movie / video game. I loved it. It was intense. Playing as Barry through this whole game was horror and intense, and I loved it. He was my very favorite story character to play as through this game. Super cool. Now, I mean it when I say that Barry and Natalia's journey in this make this game feel like a Resident Evil game. I mean, there's parts of it where they're going on their journey trying to find Moira and Claire when Barry got the message that they sent the distress signal to get help from the island. And there's parts that are super intense. I mean, there are scenes where Barry and Natalia, they're going through basically this whole, like, I don't know how you would describe it, but it's really creepy because it's like these hanging dolls from everywhere. Like, they're from the ceiling, there's passageways that Barry and Natalia have to crawl through. Eventually, they run into the villain of the game, whose name is Alex Whisker, and, the cutscene for it just give me the creeps. Like, you got this such terrifying creature that Alex has taken the form of, and she knows Natalia's name, and that's how it ends. And Claire and Moira throughout the game, they have a pretty fun story too. I mean, the adventure that they go on, they started out in the underground prison laboratory thing fighting zombie mutant creatures, and there's this one part where they run into other survivors that have also been kidnapped and taken to the island, and I thought it was pretty fun to explore the village of the island. Like, you need to get to the top of the tower where Whisker is, and Claire has to get fuel and battery for a helicopter for a guy to fly. So, it was awesome to be able to explore the island, the little village, looking for this stuff. I mean, it was cool to be able to run to the shore, to be able to get into the water a little bit, and to fight those monsters along the shoreline. That was awesome. And there's also points where they get into, like, this little cafe place, where they end up being ambushed by zombie creatures, and you're just like, they're bashing out the windows trying to get in. Moira will shine her light on the creatures, trying to blind them while Claire shoots them. It tries to be intense. Sometimes it is, but if you played the Resident Evil 4 remake, where Leon and Louise are shooting the zombies while protecting Ashley, while the zombies are, they're not zombies, the people of the village are trying to break into the house. Man, Resident Evil 4 did it so much better than this. But there's a scene where Claire's friend turns into, like, this drill-wielding mutation zombie-like creature, which was pretty cool. But it is fun shooting the zombies, trying to barricade yourself in this place and shooting them. That part was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. So, Claire and Moira's journey, it literally takes them all over the island, from the underground city to the village by the lake, by the ocean. There's a part where, this part's really cool, like, they have to escape this one factory place that is going to be exploding. They get out of that, it takes them to the sewers, and one of the cool places that they go to that definitely feels Resident Evil vibe is this butcher factory. I mean, after they escape the sewers, they go into the butcher factory, and they fight all these different undead creatures, they solve these puzzles, and eventually, after getting out of the sewer, it takes them to this, like, graveyard-like puzzle, which is really cool, which leads them to the tower where Alex Whisker is. So we find out that the whole point of Claire and Moira and everyone else, the reason they've been taken to the island, is Alex needs a new body host. She knows she's dying, she's wanting to create this new bioweapon, but she needs a host for it. And she realizes that Claire and Moira, basically, they're not gonna go down without a fight, so she shoots herself in the head, and she sets the tower for self-destruction. So, we got Claire and Moira trying to escape the tower, and this is actually, like, Metroid style, like, you got the timer going down. It's very intense. And, you have to, like, be aware of your surroundings, because I actually did die a couple times trying to, you know, like, figure out how to get past these quick few puzzles on the island as you're escaping, as the timer's going down. It's very, like, it really gets your heart rate going, because you want these characters to get off this island to survive the explosion, but you're trying to beat the timer, then you have puzzles going on at the same time. Everything's going on, and it's, like, mind-blowing, because the game's not, like, not forgiving. If you take a big enough fall, you can die from that. If you do anything, really, you can really pay the price for it if you make mistakes in this game, which is one of the reasons why I love it. So, really, Claire and Moira's story and how they escape the island, that ends with Claire escaping the tower, and, we're brought back to... The game ends with the story of Natalia and Barry. Like, they have their own little adventure. There's a part where they're going through the tunnels, which really, really creep me out, because the tunnels of the mines are filled with toxic gas fumes, and you'll be fighting these, like, rotten corpses as usual that you see throughout the game, but also you are given a limited time to survive in the mines before you need fresh air. And the game really did a cool thing about this, because the longer you spend inhaling, your character spends inhaling the fumes from the mines, like, you can tell they're gonna die, because the color of the game actually goes from having color to going to black and white, and there's also, like, the camera just starts going dark as well, and eventually whoever you're playing as, they'll, like, basically suffocate and have a seizure. Then you'll get on screen, you are dead. Anyway, I love the fact the camera was incorporated into the feeling what the character is feeling as they go through this area. That was really cool. I love the emotions the camera uses in this game. One of the coolest parts. Coolest things Capcom decided to do for this. I really liked it. Anyway, after going through the mines, Barry and Natalia find their way up to Whisker's mansion. It's really cool. It's really cool to explore the halls of this mansion. And once you solve the puzzles to get the key to these certain rooms in the basement of the mansion, it's where Whisker's been creating these monsters that have been attacking Barry and Natalia through their whole gameplay. But eventually they go through another weird, like, effigy place with dolls and stuff. The classic Resident Evil feeling to it, where it's all dark, there's effigies burning, there's dolls hanging from the ceiling, everything like that. Eventually, they get to fight Alex Whisker. Like, she does the whole classic Resident Evil main villain thing where they turn it into a bioweapon zombie creature that you gotta fight. And I know I got the bad ending in this. Like, there's a good and bad ending in this. The bad ending, well, like, the fight with Whisker is just boring, honestly. Like, you're just running through the lab shooting at her as she's hanging from the ceiling. Eventually, she'll attack Barry. And the ending I got, like, Whisker will grab Natalia, and Natalia will actually end up ripping Whisker's heart out. And, like, Barry will point a gun at Natalia, and Natalia will say that she's a Whisker, and she'll walk away, and Barry will collapse, just feeling defeated. And that's how the game ends. And yeah, you know you lost the game. So, like, I guess, like, to get the good and bad ending, it's earlier, like in Chapter 2 of the game. Like, it's when Neil and Claire and Moira are fighting Neil. You have to choose Moira to get the gun and to shoot and kill Neil. Then the good ending will come the good ending, like the fight with Moira, or the fight with Whisker, is a lot funner. You'll be outside of the island, Whisker will be chasing Barry through mines and stuff, and Claire will be shooting at Whisker from a helicopter outside of the island, and her death, Whisker's death, is so much more satisfying with the good ending. But really, it doesn't really feel like a good ending that way either, because a little bit of Alex Whisker awakens in Natalia no matter what happens. So you still feel like you're getting a bad ending to this game. But with the good ending, it feels like you actually did beat the game. Whether with the bad ending, it feels like you failed the game. Which, another thing was genius on Capcom. But with, like, Resident Evil 7, like, no matter what choice you make, it feels like you beat the game. Like, the first time I played Biohazard, I beat it. I chose the bad ending, where he watches the video of Mia on the phone and just throws it away at the end. Though, I still feel like I beat it. But with this, if you choose the bad ending, you feel like you lost the whole game. So genius on Capcom, because I had to replay the whole game to get the good ending. But it was worth it, because I love it. Anyway, that is Resident Evil 2 Revelations. The great story of 4 characters having 2 stories, with a man with a little girl searching for his daughter on the island 6 months apart, 6 months earlier. The man's daughter is traveling with Claire. They're trying to escape the island, yet find Whisker to stop her. Classic Resident Evil story of fighting the undead, stopping the main villain, having a classic ending of helicopter flying into the sunset. Such a great game. So fun exploring the wilderness. Definitely, in my opinion, would have a feeling of what The Last of Us would be like with Barry and Natalia and Claire and the others fighting the undead in the wilderness. Just, I love this game. And I'm definitely going to try out The Last of Us, just to see how close this game was to The Last of Us, because fighting the undead in the wilderness is what I'm pretty sure The Last of Us is about. Anyway, that is what this video was, guys. I hope if you played Resident Evil Revelations 2 before, you enjoyed it as much as I had. I had a lot of fun playing this game, a lot of fun talking about it, and yeah, if I had to rank this game, I'd probably give it 9 out of 10, just because some of the puzzles are kind of stupid, and the graphics at some points seem pixelated. Like, I kind of feel like this would be better to play on, like, Steam or on the computer instead of PS4. I kind of feel like that's what it was made for. Sometimes the controls can be clunky. But anyway, if you take out the controls and problems with pixels, it's a great game. So, yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. And if you want me to do more videos of Resident Evil stuff, please just leave it in the comments, because I can definitely do that. Anyway, guys, we'll see you next time. Have a good day.